Hola, bienvenidos a Joe Beast, del podcast para emprendedores que están dominando su industria. So Jeff, thank you for being with us today.
For sure,
I
man.
appreciate you taking the time. I know you're about to take off in a couple hours.
It's all good.
To Vegas, so I appreciate you taking the time being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. So as I kind of introduce you to what we do. We're here to share more of entrepreneurs in the area in El Paso, Texas. Tell us a little bit about how you grew up, and if you kind of already knew back then that you were gonna be an entrepreneur, or if it's something that kind of you realize along the way later in life.
Yeah, for sure. I think my approach was non-traditional. I didn't come from business parents or anything. My dad was ex-military, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom from Germany. So I was really traditional. Really, my parents were just go to school, get your degree, and then you can be whatever you want. But I think when I started getting through middle school to high school is when I started getting that itch for tinkering with business and numbers and different things like that. So but before I started my first real venture, I was doing all kinds of things. I was flipping stuff on Craigslist. When the iPhone first came out, one of my favorite stories is that I had $90 to my name, $100 to my name. So I went on there and saw an iPhone 2, and I messaged the guy and was like, hey, I'll give you $60 for it. And he was like, yeah, for sure. So I was worried about losing that last bit of money. And before I went to pick up that iPhone, I had already posted another ad on Craigslist for it, sold it for $200 before I even picked it up. And I did that 4 or 5 more times in the next couple of days. And that's where I was like, this is kind of cool. I like it.
It was crazy. My first iPhone was an iPhone 5.
Really?
It's an iPhone 2.
Yeah, it was old school.
I was Android. I was Android before I switched to iPhone. And my first iPhone was an iPhone 5.
Yeah, I think that one still had the rip cord to start it, and you had to put it. No, I'm just kidding.
How old are you, Jeff?
31.
31. Yeah. You're only a year older than I am.
Yeah.
And then Marco?
32.
32. Yeah, so we're all right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you sell anything else during your middle school, candy, anything like that?
No, I mean, my mom, she would get rid of stuff. She's like, here, you can post this if you want, and that kind of thing. So it was kind of hard too, because all I had was my bike, or I had to have my parents drop me off to do these things. But I guess the first job I had, there was a text messaging service company called Cha-Cha. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it or remember it. And basically, you would sign up to be, they called them guides, and people would text in a question, and you'd be on your computer and you'd answer it. So they might be in a history exam and be like, who was the 15th president? And then you get the question, boom, you research it, and then you send them the answer. Oh, wow. And they paid you 5 cents per answer or something, and I had a little debit card, and I was there. I mean, you're learning to research while you're answering questions. Yeah. So it was kind of cool little pastime. I'm sorry?
How interesting.
Yeah.
The old ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of what I did. And, I had a job when I was in high school. I worked 14 hours a week at Hollister at the mall. I was cool back then. But I didn't really...
Cielo Vista or Silent Park?
Cielo Vista.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was there, and my first actual venture, the Traction Jack, I started in my sophomore year of high school, and that was my first actual business.
Okay, so you were 17 at the time?
16.
16?
16,
okay.
Yeah.
And how did you, so tell us more about the Traction Jack.
The Traction Jack, yeah, so, I mean, I had a knack for off-roading. I would always go out to Red Sands. We were out there at the SAC when there was nothing. I mean, now it's incredible to see how much development there is, but we were always off-roading there, and I had just started driving, so I was using my dad's truck a lot, and he didn't have four-wheel drive in the truck, so I'd be going out there with my Jeep buddies, and they'd be four-wheeling, and I'd be I'm keeping up with you guys, and eventually I started getting stuck, and we would find what we could in the desert, rocks. We would use old pieces of carpet, logs, that kind of thing, to put under the tires to get them out, or my buddies with the Jeep would pull me out, and eventually they're just dude, this is too much. We're always, every time we're going out, we're just figuring out how to get you unstuck, so you got to get a Jeep. We're that's it. So I had always been interested in how do people go from having a product to putting it on store shelves, that kind of thing. So I did some research. Again, I was 16 at the time, didn't have any money to my name, and found a company up in I think they were like in Pennsylvania, and it was called Invent SAI. And basically they were like, hey, if you give us $1,300, we'll do this whole market analysis, patent search, everything for you. And I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. And so my parents forked up the money, paid it. And then like 6 weeks later, they just send me this bound booklet that was like garbage research. And I was just like, oh man. So I started looking locally. I was like, maybe if I can start shaking some hands and meeting face to face. So I met my friends, Eli Velasquez and Leo Alvarado. They were down here what now is the hub, downtown in El Paso. And I'll never forget when I had first called them, I was like, hey, like I'm looking for investors for this. And they're like, yes, sir, come on in. You can meet with us at this time. And I was 16 at the time. And so I walked in and they always tell the story. They're like, yeah, when Jeff first came in our office, they're like, no, we don't want any Girl Scout cookies. And I'm like, no, I'm Jeff. And they're like, what the hell? I was like, yeah, I'm a little high school sophomore. I talked to them on the phone, but I guess even since I was young, like I had a deeper voice. So they were like, oh, this guy's going to come in. And I'm all here like, hey, I'm Jeff. And they're like, what the hell? Oh, wow. So yeah, it was that was kind of my start. And then, I mean, networking was like what paved the path, meeting this person to do this, to do that. And it kind of just grew from there.
Cool. I know you have some patents for the traction jack, right?
Yeah. That I was blessed to have they're friends of mine, Luis and Kermit from Ortiz and Lopez up in Albuquerque. I did a pitch to some angel investors, and they were in the room, and they were like, "Hey, we want to do the patent work for you pro bono." And I was like, "Man, that's crazy!" And over the years, they ended up doing $80,000, maybe $100,000 worth of patent work to help me out. And yeah, it was awesome.
What is this?
It's for my product, the traction jack. So it's I guess if you would like me to explain it, I apologize. It's basically folding traction boards to get you unstuck from like the sand, the snow, the mud. So if you're out driving like in the desert, or like you live in an area with a lot of snow or rural areas and you lose traction and get stuck, you can put these boards under the tire and they grip so that you can get yourself out. Yeah.
Where do you sell? Amazon?
Yeah, so I've kind of been on a hiatus for the last couple of years. Right around 2019, I kind of I shelved it. I wasn't able to live off of it at the time, and still was very new at business. So I got into some other industries, which we'll talk about. But yeah, I'm looking this year to resurrect it. And I mean, as far as entities where it's sold, we've sold all over El Paso. So like the Border Patrol uses it here. I've sold to the Sheriff's Department, El Paso Electric, Sunland Park PD, the Constable bought some. So we got them around in the different agencies here. And it was just very hard because these agencies are government, so they're only buying small quantities, or you had to have a contract to get a big quantity. And like it was just one-offs here and there. So it took a lot of time, but I had them on Amazon. Amazon was purchasing 8 to 10 a month from us. I remember sending a pallet of them to a car dealership in Norway. I sent them to Central South America. I think I even sent one to somewhere in Dubai, Saudi Arabia, somewhere like that. So they made their way around.
How did you get those out of Amazon?
No, I go every year to Vegas in November for the SEMA car show. Yeah. And I had a booth in 2014 and 2015. We actually did a car build in 2015, and I made a lot of contacts from that. Just a lot of networking.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been in SEMA before because I used to be on the repair shop.
Yeah.
Like, I have my own repair shop, so like that's a really fun.
It's a fun trade show. Yeah. I think let me see this. I've been going since 2010, so every year since 2010. The only year I missed was the year prior to COVID and the year of COVID.
Oh wow!
But I've been going every year since.
So even if you're not in even when you were it's like you were still going and attend. That's cool.
Yeah.
For fun.
Just for fun, and I mean, I would always walk around, look at what the competition was doing, see what the other manufacturers had. But yeah, just I have a passion for cars and planes, so that's my thing.
Okay.
I'm available around that time of the year.
All right, there you go.
You have someone take photo shoot.
Yeah, that would be cool. Document it. Maybe we can all go and do a podcast out there.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Okay.
Marco, do you have any questions so far, Frank?
Well, that's cool. What you do? So you did that, And then what did you do after your invention?
Yeah, so I went to school at UT Austin, always repping the Longhorns, but I came back in 2014 and needed some income because I wasn't living off the traction jack company. So I hit up a buddy of mine, and he's into financial advising and insurance, and I was like, hey, like, do you know anyone that's hiring? And he's like, nah, dude. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, you're coming to work with me. So his old office is on the corner of Brown and Cotton, so it's like 2 blocks down that way. I passed it on the way in, and I kind of learned the ropes there. Was the business was hard those years. His parents passed away. They were the ones who founded the firm, so I didn't really get the attention I needed, and I kind of was like doing traction jack there, trying to learn insurance, and it was just like a whole fumble of everything. And fast forward to 2017, 2018, some guy came and worked in the firm, Bryce. He came in to work at the firm there, and that's where he ended up leaving, and it got me into the renewable energy and solar industry. So I kind of took off with that. I started up in Albuquerque, and it was interesting because he was always texting me, calling me, hey, you've got to come, you've got to check out solar, you've got to check this out. And I was like, nah, dude, like, that sounds horrible. Like, what do you guys do? He's like, well, we knock doors, we pitch solar to people. And I'm like, knock doors? I'm not gonna do that. I'm above knocking doors. And I think at the time I had like $300 in my bank account, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm better than that. And he's like, dude, it's a good industry. There's a lot of money to be made. You can help people. And I remember it was July of that year. I was just like, you know what, like, I need to do something different. And it was a Tuesday, and I called him. I was like, I'll be up there, and I'll be up there Friday. So I packed up my truck and raced up there on a Friday. They did a quick little interview, threw me a polo and a badge, and said, get at it. And that was Friday afternoon, had my first sale by Monday, and then it deposited by that Friday. And I was like, maybe I'm onto something. And then I just kind of kept learning, and made more and more money at that time in Albuquerque. And then they moved us to the Las Vegas market. And that's kind of where I got the mindset, let me go back to El Paso and start working on my own.
Was it hard in
firm.
Las Vegas?
Yeah, it was very hard.
You're the second person to tell us that.
It was very hard. Yeah, now they changed all the regulations and everything to where you have to be a W-2 employee to work there in solar and stuff. So it's completely different. But at that time, this was 2018, and it was tough. It was brutal.
What made it brutal?
Just I think the way the market was, people weren't really receptive to it, and there were some other companies that had worked there. I think it was Vivint that burned out the market with putting people in leases. So a lot of people heard like, oh, solar, liens on the home, lease contracts, like, I'm not interested, I don't want it. So it was really difficult.
Yeah, like that kind of like started in California and it kind of worked this way up to the
Kept going east.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. And then, so you come back to El Paso. What do you do over here?
Yeah, so me and that guy, we became business partners at the time. I remember in Albuquerque, we had started an LLC together. We were at a coffee shop called Little Bear Coffee Shop, and we started the company. And what we wanted to do is more of like a consulting kind of deal where like we were consulting, getting real estate professionals, construction, and then like business management, finance, insurance. Like, it was this whole cluster of jack of all trades, and like, we were like, we're going to be this consulting company. And it was okay. We got back here, we got a spot with Beto downtown, and I think we were paying like $85 a month. It was awesome. And we used the co-working space, and we brought in 15, 20 sales reps. And
Oasis?
Yeah, but it was downtown at the time on Texas
That's
Street.
where we work at.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we were there, and Beto was a friend that I met from my friends Eli and Leo way back in the Traction Jack days. So it was just the connections panned out. And then, we were working there for a while, and it just got too big. Like, Beto was like, dude, this is taking over the co-working space. So we were like, man, we're on such a high, like, everything's going good. It's never going to slow down. So we ended up finding a spot off Mesa Hills, and we got into a 5-year lease. We spent $90,000 on the build out. I mean, this was the most badass office. Did you ever go there?
I did, yeah.
You did? Yeah. So we had glass up the wazoo. We had a custom pool table with our company in it. We had a kegerator. We had a wine bar.
$90,000?
Yeah, we spent stupid money on that office, and we built it to where we could park our cars inside, and you could see them through the glass in the sales room. So like, it was like Wolf of Wall Street, dude. It was next level. And then a year later, COVID hit.
Jeff, I had no idea that you guys worked out of Oasis initially.
Yeah, that's where we started.
Because like I I went to Oasis, like back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I met Ivan. I didn't know Beto at the time.
Okay.
But
Ivan
that was a
Huerta.
really cool place too.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no idea that you guys were working out of there. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Like,
We
that's
started
such
in the Texas Street one.
small town.
Yes, sir.
That's crazy. And then, because I remember like when they recently had moved to what's now the Sandbox,
Yeah.
we had a meeting there where we were still trying to build the Solar Cake, which is now Minsky, like that. So like, that's kind of crazy.
It all comes full circle.
I know, like, now that makes sense why you were in that meeting.
Yeah.
That's okay, wow. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. I see.
Yeah. So
It's the Oasis cartel. Everybody. comes
exactly.
out of that.
Everyone has a piece of it, some kind of stake.
So Marco has a startup out of the STT or Sandbox Foundation. They're like, tell them more about your startup.
So it's a software for freight brokers. So
freight brokers.
Yeah, so it automates their document handling and it consolidates their communication channels.
Okay.
So whenever they're talking to a carrier or a shipper, it builds the documents as you're speaking or typing. It sends them automatically, and then it does due diligence on carriers, does due diligence on shippers.
Oh wow.
So they can just streamline their workflow and like eliminate 50% of the time they spent working, because half of it is doing manual processes. Yeah, so
That's a big industry here.
yeah,
It's a big industry. I know a couple of the guys in the game we did some work for back in the day, and I was like, man, I didn't even know what any of this was. And when you look at the logistical operation of it, it's incredible.
yeah.
And I didn't know. I knew about your patent, but I didn't know yet that you like worked on pitches and stuff like that. Because that's kind of like we kind of shifted to, hey, let's just like approach like the Hispanic community, the entrepreneurs, like to actually like, cause me personally, back in the day, I would say a year back, I didn't know what a startup was. Like I didn't even have in my like in my peripherals like, hey, I can be part of a technology company. I was like business, yeah, business. And I've been meaning to conduct like a survey out of UTEP. And I can almost guarantee you that if you ask every single student out of COBA, I'm certain that at least like more than 50% don't know what a startup is. Whereas if you go to California, like it's like everybody knows what it is.
Part of the culture.
It's part of the culture, right? And the thing is, like, we have such a entrepreneurial, business driven community out here. It's just like they don't know that there's a possibility to do,
Yeah, it's like when I started, like I sent this money to this company in Pennsylvania that I was just like, cool, put your email, your phone number, and like all of a sudden we'll do this study for you, versus not knowing the resources here. And sometimes that's what keeps people from starting. I get questions all the time like, hey, how do you do this or how do you do that? I mean, just from Traction Jack alone, I learned about investing, angel investments, VC, manufacturing. So my mold and my box tooling is still in Juarez, and we manufacture the product in a plant out there, and we like that was for me a whole new world. And I just, all through making the connections, the very first prototype for that product we had made at New Mexico State University. The guys, my friend Eli and Leo, they contacted them and said, hey, I got a guy there in the machine shop, let's see if they can help you. They made the first prototype. The guy was like, go out in the desert and beat it to hell. So I did that, and then I met another buddy, Rick from Rick's Tanks. He's a famous hot rod tank builder here on the west side. Like, I mean, they know him all over the world. He's always at SEMA, and he's the one that got me into SEMA. And he made me my second prototype. So I have on the Traction Jack Instagram this really cool photo. I call it the Traction Jack Museum, and I have the dates on it, like 2009, 2011, 12, 14, and it shows like how the product changed from this bulky, stubby steel thing to where we are now with injection molded plastic. So it's kind of cool. So like people have asked me like, well, what's a patent? How do you do that? Or like, how do I get into manufacturing? Or what about distribution and this and that? And like, I'm always trying to help where I can.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, like a startup, it literally makes you go through all, like a conventional business does too. But then when you have to actually raise money, it's like you have to have your paperwork like on point. Because I mean, like sometimes kind of like Marco's, like he's literally raising money on a project, on an idea, right? Like there's no like actual,
There's no tangible thing that you hold.
It's gonna work. Give me money.
Don't get me wrong. Like I invested money myself in his startup. The thing is, like they have to like really put their get their shit together when it comes down to like the paperwork. Everything has to make sense. Cause
the
like,
data, the numbers, the forecasts, absolutely.
So that's really awesome because like I said, like sometimes when you start a conventional business, a lot of those things don't really matter because you have already either come up with the money or like you have like you sure like your own credit to leverage that. So you kind of let that slide, and it's okay. You can get going, but in this case, like you have to
Everything.
you have to make it like you have to make it like super like clean so somebody can actually say, hey, let me put money on it.
Yeah, and I mean for me, it was difficult because I was so young, so people didn't really take me seriously. I had to go through the like prove myself, and people were like, oh yeah, no, it's cool. Like, oh, one day, and I mean, I was able to leverage, hey, I'm a starving student, help me, and they're like, cool. And then as you get older, it's like it's not so cute anymore. They're just like, you're a grown man, get out and figure it out. So at some point, like you've got to go through.
Selling Girl Scout cookies.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so COVID happens. Your badass Wolf of Wall Street office is built, and then what?
Yeah, COVID happened, and we were running for a while. I moved up to Denver, so I started living in Denver the year before COVID, and I had an apartment down there. It was awesome, really cool. And my business partner was down here, and once we got a deal with another company that we were doing some auxiliary energy auditing stuff for them, so I was kind of bringing in the money, but we took on way more than we could handle. The rent with utilities was between $8,500 and $9,500 a month. And then so we were like, yeah, we're making the solar money, like it's never going to stop. And then COVID started coming, and sales reps people were like, I need to survive. And so like we just got like the rent was piling up, it started going crazy. And the landlord at the time, well, I was still in Denver, and the landlord was like, hey, I'm looking at selling the building, like we got to figure this out. And my then business partner and I, like we weren't seeing eye to eye anymore, so we ended up splitting ways, but I was left with the liability of the building. And the new guy that purchased it was like, either you take on a new 5-year lease with me at the same rate with an escalator, or you leave everything in here as it is and take off, and then you're good to go. And I was like, I'll take door number 2. Like, keep the pool table, keep that. Like, I don't need that. And like, I basically washed my hands of it and was just like, let me start over and see what I can do. So yeah, in solar. So I had already looked at it with the company I was with initially. I got into solar. I was knocking doors, and like it was like barely scratching the surface.
What happened to that office? Do you know like if there's a new business?
He moved in, the landlord.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was like, this is legit. All he did was tweak it a bit, and he ended up moving in. He's like, I'm gonna run my corporate office out of here.
Damn, so they just changed the pool table to
yeah, exactly.
his logo.
Yeah, exactly. It was it's cool. It was a contracting firm. I don't mind saying it's Black Stallion, and they do a lot of the city stuff, like the civil. Like if you see.
Oh, yeah, I think I've seen some trucks.
Yeah, they just have a black horse on there. Yeah, so Hector's the owner of that company. Really cool guy. Really cool guy. And they do a lot of the stuff. Like if you look at the medians in the city, or like all the stuff that they're doing with concrete and dividing the roads and all that, that's usually Black Stallion. So it's a cool company. But yeah, we ended up losing the office, and I worked for a little bit, just kind of in idle, working on my laptop remotely. And I was like, man, we need to figure out like what to do. We need to get another office. And I was like, do I continue operating under the company that I have? Do I start a new company? So I said, you know what? I learned the door knocking piece, just being the salesman. Then we learned how to run a sales organization with me and my then business partner. And I was like, what we'd always wanted to figure out to do was how to become licensed and be an electrical contractor. So long story short, met some more people, went through the hoops, and ended up making a deal to become an electrical contractor so that we can now manage the entire installation process. So the logistics of the panels, the contracts, the financing, our credit lines, our pulling the permits, doing the design plans, all that. We jumped into it, and I was like, man, this is where the money's at. This is where you start making the crazy money. And I was so wrong. That's where all the liability and all the risk is. So there's like so much more headache. You had more control over the process, but a lot more responsibility and a lot more to worry about with a thinner margin. So
where is the money at? Just selling?
Selling, yeah. I mean, actually, I take that back. The money I say now is on the commercial development side. So after I left, after COVID happened, and I decided to cut ties with that company, I started what I now own, Quantum Solar Power. And I got the name. I was like, man, what do I want to call it? Like everyone in El Paso has a solar company uses their initials. I don't know why. So I was like, I'm not going to do that. And I was looking through some emails, and actually the company in Juarez who manufactures my product, they're called Quantum Plastics. So I was like, I was like, that sounds kind of like space-aged, like quantum solar power. And I ended up founding the company June 29th, 2020 right in the heat of COVID, and got licensed. We've got the license with the state under my company. We're not like using someone else. And to this date, we focus mainly on commercial solar installs, so buildings like this. We specialize in the financial piece of it, the development side, the financing of it. And I actually had a meeting yesterday in San Antonio with a really big oil and gas firm, and they've got tons of property in Texas and New Mexico where they just want to start putting solar fields and seeing which utilities they can sell back to. So we've gone from, well, I guess I've gone from knocking doors, sitting with a homeowner, all the way now to like the top end of the spectrum, utility grade products or projects where we're building out for feeding back to utility companies.
That's where the money's at.
That's where the money's at. That's when you can, like, I how do you say, I label ourselves as a solar construction company, not just like, oh, we're solar guys. Like, we are a solar construction company because this all entails dirt work. You're having to do engineering, land studies. There's just a whole different spectrum.
And you're based in El Paso?
Yeah, we're here in El Paso.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done work. So the project we were on yesterday was in San Antonio. It's a gym, like a gymnastics gym. We've got a project that we've got to finish in Arizona, probably the week of the 26th. And then right after that, we're going to Houston. We've got an exotic car garage. So like I said, I'm a car guy. There's a business out there. This guy has a massive ass warehouse, and they've got bays in there with full mechanics for exotic cars, for classic cars. They've got an exotic car dealership in there, and then he's got 2 floors of like 650 cars that people from Central America, South America, just different parts, they store their cars there. And I was walking through there, and I was just doing an initial walkthrough with the guy, and I was just like, that's cool. But inside, I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh man, it's a Ford GT, it's a Huracan, it's this. Yeah, but I was just like, I was like, that's cool, that's cool. So it's cool to be working in that stuff. And then, like I said, this project in San Antonio that I met with yesterday, I was with the owner of the company, the COO, the CEO, and they kind of just threw me into a board meeting without me expecting it. I was running on 2 hours of sleep, and they had their equity partner who gives them their investment money on the phone. And I pitched to all of them, and they called. They're like, dude, you killed it. Like, this is awesome. They want to move forward. So
yeah, so I kind of, last minute, like, asked him yesterday if he wanted to be on today. And then I see him, he's catching a flight to San Antonio. I'm like, he's out in San Antonio. I'm like, dude, does Jeff understand that it was tomorrow?
I was at the airport while you were asking me the questions. I was sitting at the terminal, like, going through
I
it.
was like, oh,
Where did you guys meet?
So I actually met him through CA?
CA, yeah.
Yeah.
This was what,
So
in
that's when he was
2020? 2021?
Probably 20,
Like right after 2019, yeah, a little bit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's right when he was founding
Quantum?
No, not Quantum.
RCM.
RCM.
So
yeah.
2019.
That's the one with the badass office.
Yeah.
And I had actually already heard about that office because my buddy Hector helped you guys move in something. I think like the kegerator or something. He was like, oh, like there's this guy that has a badass office. And then later I went to visit, and yeah, it's a nice place.
Yeah, people always ask, because we had like an acronym for RCM, like real estate construction management, and like I still have the plates on my cars. Like I got the vanity plates. People are like, what does RCM stand for? I'm like, real cool motherfucker. They're like, oh, okay, cool.
Like, you still keep them, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah,
5 years?
I paid the 5 years, and I think each plate, it's, what does it come out to? It's like for 5 years, it's like, no, I think it's like, it was like six something per plate. So I spent over $1,200 on the 2 plates. I was like, I'm just gonna keep them.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And how do you manage your life? It seems like you're a busy guy. Like, do you work out? Do you have a wife, girlfriend?
Yeah, it's tough. I would say like there's a balance between getting burned out and actually being able to do the things you like to do. I love to work, but I think what I do is like when I'm frustrated or stressed out, like I revert to working more to like get rid of it, which is weird. But yeah,
I feel you, man. I do the same thing.
Yeah, and I've got a girlfriend. I've been in a relationship 2 years now with her, and she's in the same industry as me. So she's doing her own holistic business on the side, but she's in the same industry. So like she's like, hey, I got a roofing lead, or I got this lead. Like we can take care of it, and it's pretty cool. And she loves cars. She loves to travel. She goes with me to SEMA. So yeah, it's cool. I work out, not as much as I like to, but my main thing is.
Cause you look fit, or do you like fast?
Yeah, I've always had like I just fast metabolism. I mean,
no, I mean, do you fast?
Fast? Yeah, I've gotten more into it. So she's actually taught me like what the fasting is and holistic and this and that, and I go to church too on the east side, and they did like last month they did a week-long fast, and I did Tuesday to Friday morning where I didn't eat. And I remember like Thursday I was in bed, I was like, I'm gonna die, like how do you do this? But then when you get past the mental stage and you get past that last bit, then like you don't even think of food and you just keep going. There was like so much mental clarity and spiritual insight, so it's pretty cool.
Okay, see, I'm not crazy.
Yeah, Marco does this thing where like if he doesn't have time to go to the gym in the morning, he'll fast for the rest of the day.
Like today.
There you go. Yeah. I didn't eat at all yesterday. I woke up at 2 a.m., got to the airport, and then all day just worked until I got back. Didn't eat anything. So, yeah, I get it.
When I'm in the zone, when I'm like busy, like, meetings back to back, yeah, like I don't even remember, I don't even realize, like, I don't even get hungry. But like, if I'm, if I don't have like actual like meetings going on, if I just gotta, like take care of stuff like normal, I eat like 3 to 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Right now I'm prepping for a fight. So I'm like,
so you got to keep on a certain
I'm actually cutting weight, like, but I'm eating like, a bunch, like, they always make fun of me because I got like a shit ton of meals delivered at the office. And I'm like, always seeing them all.
You're partitioning them and they're all gone at the end of the day.
Yeah, but like, it's crazy, like, you guys, because I can't fast for that long.
It's okay.
I couldn't do it for like 4 days.
It's not for everybody.
No.
Yeah, it's a different mentality. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy eating and stuff, but like, and then for working out, for me, it's just managing it. I'm like, do I want to hustle now and then get myself to a point where I don't have to hustle as much and then I can start opening my schedule? Or do I want to, okay, I got to get my gym time in and then I got to work and this. And so right now I'm at the point where it's like, if I'm skinny, fit, whatever, like, cool, I'm working, like, we'll get the stuff done. And then eventually I'll open up my time to be able to look at the more of this stuff. I mean, I'm learning more on the health conscious side. You can't just keep putting it off, but you just got to find that balance.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. What are some things that help you, like, cause like Marco said, you look fit. You're not, do you try to like at least make the right choices when it comes down to like, like picking your food? Like, just like, do you actually like go to the gym every now and then? Or like...
Yeah, I try to go like 2-3 times a week, and we'll go. I got us a membership at Hotworks Yoga on the west side, so like we'll go. Well, like, hey, we just had a good weekend. Like, let's go work out, sweat out in the sauna. So we'll do that like twice a week, and then we also work out at the old Sunland Park at TrueFit like once or twice a week. So I try to get in, even if it's 30 minutes, just to keep the mobility going. But I think a big piece of it too is like on the solar installation side, I'm not just an owner who knows like, oh, you got to go do this, or hey, dude, go do this, or pick up the broom. Like, I actually go and do it. So like, I was in San Antonio yesterday, and the guys were trying to muscle this wire in. I'm like move aside, and we're there like putting the wire in and all this stuff. I've worked on services like where it's high voltage and it's extremely dangerous. Like I've like for times of the essence, like I've learned the electrical side of my business being out in the field, and so like I'm up there carrying panels to the roof or moving bricks around and stuff. So I have days like that where, I mean, that's a workout in of itself, especially.
Yeah.
So what did you go to? Because I know you mentioned you went to UT, but like what was your major?
So I actually wanted to. Well, I guess back in high school I had looked into it, and I got a scholarship to go to an aeronautical college. So I love airplanes, flying, and I had a scholarship for Embry-Riddle, but I was stupid at the time. I was dating a girl in high school and was like, we're going to get married, so I can't leave you. So she was like, well, I don't want to go to Florida. That's too far from my family. So I was like, all right, let's find a school in Texas. And like, I didn't know anything. So I was just kind of looking. I was like, Longhorns? Yeah, I guess. And then I was like, I had already gotten accepted because of my grades, so it was like automatic. And then like a couple weeks later, she's like, they denied my entry. So like she stayed in El Paso. I went to college there. We broke up like 6 months later. And yeah, that was that. It was like, it wasn't even worth it. But I mean, it kind of put me on the path to where I am today.
Isn't UT better than Embry-Riddle?
I get the thing with Embry-Riddle was just having the flight component, like the flight school, and so that's what I really wanted to do. So I ended up joining the flying club in UT Austin, and I remember going to the first meeting, and there was like a short dude sitting next to me, and he was all like, you could tell like he was like Central Texas, like frat guys, and then he said, hey, what's your name? And I was like talking. He's like, oh, I'm one of the flight instructors. I was like, cool. And then he's like, where are you from? I was like, El Paso. He's like, I went to Coronado. I'm from El Paso. I was like, dude, match made in heaven. So yeah, it was January of that year, 2012. I started taking flying lessons, and then 6 months later, July 2nd, 2012, I got my pilot's license here. And the cool thing is, I looked it up. That's the exact same day Amelia Earhart disappeared in history. So it's aviation related. I'm like, I like to relate it back to that. But I've had my pilot's license since July of 2012.
Nice.
So it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out perfectly fine, and I was still able to.
What was your major?
Economics. So I went there I wanted to do aerospace engineering, and I had a horrible mindset. Like, I hated school. I had already started traction jack, so I was like, I'm gonna be rich off of this. Like, I don't need to be doing homework and stuff. And like, I was doing great, and then like my grades were just getting worse and worse and worse. So like, I spent the first 2.5 years pursuing engineering. I wasn't in the engineering school. I was just in the undergraduate studies. And the counselors were like, yo, you're like pushing this on. You're going to be here for like 5-6 years. So I started loading up the coursework. I was doing like 20-25 hours a semester and pounding through that. And then at the very end, I was just like, screw it. Like, people who didn't get into engineering looked at economics as a discipline. So I jumped into economics, and I still finished in 3.5 years. I didn't do the full 4 years, and I graduated completely in 3.5 years, even with changing at the very end. So it was pretty cool.
How does that help you? Like, how the economics? We were having a conversation the other day at the space, like pretty much like asking what was better, like economics or finance.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, not that there's a better one, you know, like
Economics.
different. But I was on the finance side. But,
Okay.
What do you how do you think economics like has helped you, like throughout like your all of your, you know, like ventures?
Because
Yeah.
you know the macro world better. You take everything into consideration.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think as a business owner too, I have that same perspective, and it's not so like, oh, I learned this calculation that's going to help me. It's more so like the intellect of it, like seeing the way the economy works, different economies, trade, stuff like that. You get a better insight. I actually took a class with the U.S. Department of Commerce, and like we got some export license, like we had to actually learn and that kind of thing. So it was kind of cool. But I don't know that I apply like to my day to day. I don't think I had the best school. I was a terrible student, so I don't think I had the best school ethic. It's kind of been self-taught, going through failures, picking myself back up, doing things differently. So I wouldn't say that it really did much for me in business, but
And that's kind of why I would like pick finance over like econ, just because econ, yeah, you're right. Like it takes into consideration. It's more of a, I would say more of a.
You know who got an econ degree?
Beto?
Elon Musk.
there you go.
You know what I think about Tesla stuff?
You love him. You love him. He's like a hater, but he loves him low key.
Deep down.
No,
Yeah. If it wasn't for if it
was
wasn't for him, you wouldn't have that electric Audi you have right now.
I don't know.
He was the one that pushed the industry using his
There's a
economics
little
knowledge.
taste. He gave you a little taste.
Yeah.
My thing with econ, I think it's very like theory based, rather than you know,
Yes.
actually like you said it, like, yeah, you picked up all this knowledge, which, don't get me wrong, sometimes we don't credit, like, you know, that kind of stuff, but you're able to navigate because you understand your markets, you know, your economy. But at the end of the day, like the actual, you know, like legwork, you know, like the boots on the ground, like that kind of stuff that really teaches you, you know, like how to, you know, like accomplish or get shit done. You know?
Yeah, and it was cool. I mean, it's cool having the degree and everything. Like, awesome. I more so did it like for my parents, because they were just like, oh no, like business, I don't know what that is. Like, get your degree and then you can be anything. I was like, cool, I got my degree, now I'm gonna do this. And like, it's like, yeah, that's it.
And that's kind of cool though, like, because it gives you, like, you know, like I do think that college just teach you like a way to think, kind of like economics, even if it's, you know, like something else, you know, like something random, something that has nothing to do with the industry you're gonna go into business with. Like I also kind of like just continue on like further my education because of military benefits. More than anything, it's like, hey, if I can do it, you know,
You have it. It's
like let's take advantage of it. And I've always tried to apply it to whatever I'm working on at the time.
Absolutely.
You know, like, I remember like one of my cohort classmates, he would tell me, like, he's like, you're the one taking the most advantage out of this, because every project that we would do, like, they will pick, you know, like an easy company, you know, like Apple, Walmart, something that they can retrieve a lot of information, or there's already a lot of cases out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, no, I'm gonna do it on my current company.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like,
There's
I'm
no
like, "Yeah,
data,
cool,
there's
man.
no
Like, I'll give you
statistics."
guys the data. I'll come up with everything as long as you guys give me your insights.
That's cool.
So yeah, like that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, and then also going to university. I mean, like UT, it's a top college in the nation. I mean, it's a name everyone knows. It's a brand. So the cool thing is the alumni network. I mean, if I'm reaching out to a corporate office now, like, hey, we want to look at doing solar for your franchise or whatever, and then on LinkedIn, it's like you both went to the same school. Hey, I'm a fellow Longhorn, and immediately that opens the door. Oh, hook 'em horns. What can I do for you?
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's like a ticket in Willy Wonka's Gold Pass.
Yeah, for my master's, I think that was the biggest thing. You know, the networking. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, rubbing elbows. You know, with the, you know, like the higher officials of here in El Paso area like that. I think that was definitely, you know, like the biggest thing.
Yeah, there is takeaway from it. Is it necessary? For some people, maybe. I mean, I've got friends that they're engineers and they're doing 250, 300K a year in Austin and California. So yeah, of course, like there's a benefit to it. But like for someone like me who I'm just laying the bricks brick by brick, yeah.
All right. So this, I mean, you've told us up to this point, right? Like a quantum. What has been kind of like the hardest, you know, challenge that you faced along the way, whether it be, you know, during school, you know, like during like maybe RCM, you know, when like parting ways from a partner, like what's been like the toughest?
Yeah, I would say that was very difficult because I thought up until this point I had to do everything with a partner. Like, I have to have a partner, have to have someone else, 50-50, whatever. And it adds more layer of complexity. And then especially if you're doing it with a friend, then if it goes sour, like you tarnish that relationship. So I think my mom had always told me, you know what, when you do something, do it yourself. And I was like, no, like, I got this partner. No, don't worry, I got this partner. And it was kind of crazy because in between the interim, so back when I was at UT, I met a friend here, and he was in the sleep study business, had a very successful company, but he also was in renewables. And this was 2011, 2012, where like nobody was talking about it. Like if they were installing solar, it was like one-off, you wouldn't know about it. And he had this company he's founded called Vulcan Energy Systems. And I remember keeping a bunch of the literature, and I dusted it off a few years ago. I still have it. And I was flipping through it, and it was like solar panels and renewable energy, and we're energy auditing experts, and let's convert your property to solar. So he was basically like, I need a sales guy. But I was a dumb college kid at the time. I was like, how much money am I going to get? I need money to party and to travel. Like, you know what, a commission? Like, nah, I'm not interested. Like, I want something quick. And yeah, basically what everyone's doing now, the solar industry, he was on the forefront of that. And I think about it, like, had I paid attention then or stayed with it then, like where I would be now, probably would have been like at the level of Titan Solar Power or something, but it wasn't in the cards back then.
Where's he at right now? Like, do you still think?
I haven't talked to him in a while. He moved out of El Paso a long time ago. He was doing some stuff for Stanford out in California, and I think either he's in San Francisco now or Boston, but I haven't kept in contact with him for a couple of years.
Yeah, he really pioneered, like, you know, like if he was like doing residential solar
back then,
in 2012, like,
yeah,
that's a real pioneer right there.
And it was more so he was like, hey dude, you're the young kid with a lot of energy, figure it out. I'm doing my sleep study business. And I was like, whatever. So
like you said, it's full circle, then like you fast track, you know, 5 years and then you're at it.
Exactly. Yeah, history repeats itself, I guess.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean the I guess that in part would be working with partners. And then for me, it doesn't have to be this way. I don't want to speak for everyone, but for me, most of my lessons have been financial. It's been expensive. You make a bad investment or you do a bad deal here and you end up losing money, and it's like, oh crap, like now I got to fix this problem, or you overpromised and now you got to take this, or just in some shape or form, it's always costed me money when I've had the biggest level up in my life. And for me, that's been a part of my entrepreneurial journey. And now where I was 5-6 years ago, like, oh, I've got money here and I'm blowing money doing this. Now I'm very conscious. I'm very careful with like debt, with credit, keeping money in investment, that kind of thing. So it's really changed my mindset. Whereas before I didn't have any concept of the value of money when you're working for it.
Yeah. So what about your win? Like, what is your biggest win that you like? What is your biggest accomplishment this far?
I would say probably, I mean, with quantum where we're going, we're starting to get larger contracts and get recognized across state lines. We did last year, it took 3.5 months. We did the solar project. We were a subcontractor for TJ Maxx. So the distribution center over by the airport, that massive building, we did the solar array on there. So that was just under 5,000 solar panels, and that's kind of what sparked my like, hey, this is what's gonna catapult me over into the industrial side of things. And so now this year it's all move, move, move. We're working hard on getting on the industrial side. So I mean that really catapulted this for me.
Awesome.
Well,
That was like a huge, like, would that be the biggest project you've
Yeah,
worked on?
that's the biggest one we've done so far. Yeah, and we were actually in Puerto Rico too in 2022, and it was an awesome learning experience, and it would have worked out great had I been more meticulous with the numbers. Again, financial mistake. But in 2021, I was looking for more reps, so I put up a job ad, and yeah, there's this guy, and I go through one, and it's for a representative in Puerto Rico, and I'm like, Puerto Rico, like, why is he applying here in El Paso? So I'm like, you know what? I've been wanting to figure out how to get in this market. He's here. He worked for the largest solar company there, Windmar. I was like, let me have a Zoom with him. Awesome guy, awesome person, really Christian man, family guy, and really good in the solar industry. And I just started talking with him. He's like, well, I want to move my family to Texas for like a little bit different of a life. But then we started talking about solar and the island, and I was showing him like, hey, this is what we have. And he's like, dude, if you guys can model that here, like we'll get every rep on the island. And I was like, all right, well, let's figure it out. Like I love solving problems. I love creating stuff. So when I had met my now girlfriend back then, we had just met, and I was like, hey, I've got to go next week to start canvassing Puerto Rico. I was like, you want to go? And she was like, yeah, cool. So our first trip in dating, like we went to Puerto Rico, and she was kind of like looking at the industry with me, meeting the connections. One of my representatives from Good Leap, she flew down to the island and was there, and we kind of started picking things out. My friend was bringing all these sales reps over, and we were starting to buy leads from Solar Exclusive. I think in 3-4 weeks we had over 2,000 leads for solar, and every time we were calling them, they're like, yeah, I want to get in the program. And so we started building out the pricing. CED Green Tech, who's a solar supplier, they actually moved into the island. I was like, man, this is perfect, like an American company on the island, great. So I started saying, hey, we need pricing list on all this. So they started giving us the pricing list, and there was a fatal error in the pricing of the batteries because every system in Puerto Rico needs batteries. So we were using Generac, and we were somewhere at like the $2,500 to $3,000 mark on their initial quote. And I remember I was here at Eloise working, and I was like, that seems really low for batteries, but it must be Puerto Rico, like they have high demand, like we can get better pricing. I was like, I might even start sending batteries over here to start working. And yeah. And then so in 6 weeks, these guys on the team, they did a little over $1 million in sales. And I was like, holy crap, we struck gold. And then when it was time we were getting ready to tee up the first 3 installs. And so I sent in for the materials list, and they sent the pricing back. And there was a huge discrepancy. So the Generac batteries were $9,000 on that one. And I'm like, what's the deal here? Is there a typo? He's like, no, that's the price. I was like, but what about this? And the guy was like, oh my God, like we fat fingered it. It was the wrong number. I'm like, we sold all these contracts on these pricing already. Like, he's like, well, go back to the client and tell him. I was like, no, they're not going to change the pricing. Like, this community is not like that. And so the sales reps were starting to get weary and like, what's up with this company? Even though it wasn't our fault, I had advanced thousands of dollars on the commissions, invested a lot into the office in San Juan, that kind of thing. And we just couldn't recover. And that CED's like, we're not going to take the loss on this. So I had to cancel all the contracts. All the reps were like, what the hell? We just wasted our time. They kept the money. I didn't get any chargebacks. So everyone kind of left, and that was it. This was like June of 2022. So we had a good run getting it all set up, and then because of that error, and I was like, something doesn't look right, but instead of asking the question, I went with it, and that was a big mistake.
Damn.
That's crazy because I mean I understand a lot of like the industry.
Yeah.
And I mean it seems like you were on the right track, but the problem is like this was your first impression with the sales rep.
Yep.
So since I mean you weren't able to pull through, and it wasn't your fault.
Yeah, but they don't get that, and everyone sees it there as Puerto Rico is this little island that all the Americans are trying to take advantage of. So they just saw it as another American company taking advantage of us, and that wasn't the case. It was everything was great. The pay structure was great. I had advanced on good faith these guys, and just because the supplier had the wrong pricing, someone wasn't paying attention, killed that whole operation overnight.
Damn.
That sucks, dude.
Yeah.
Because it would oh my god, it would have been awesome if we were able to generate $1 million in sales in like six weeks.
Oh, we would have kept going. I mean, if that would have gone through, we would have straight up. It would have been crazy what we would have done, but yeah.
Have you ever been to Mexico City?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever been
DF.
Have you ever had toques?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this little dynamic towards the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start from zero. You tell me when to stop. I'm gonna be asking you questions. Just kind of like the idea is to kind of like think of like how you go through hardship. Like you go through like some stress, and then you still gotta
Stress, the pain,
so, yeah.
keep on going.
So it goes all the way up to 9. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna go to 1 right now. Are you feeling it right there?
Yeah, I feel it.
Perfect. What will be like a piece of advice that you'll be given to like maybe like like
A recent
student,
grad.
a recent grad, a student like about to graduate from UTEP, and they have a little like itch about maybe like starting a business or doing something other than going to the conventional 9 to 4,
Yeah.
9 to 5, like a job.
I would definitely say start finding people in your industry, find people to model after, find people maybe that are doing what you're doing or have done what you're doing, and start kind of researching down the rabbit hole. How did they do it? What's their story? A lot what kept me going was seeing the other entrepreneurs, the billionaires now who had gone through this and, they were fired from their job or lost money or had these issues where they were broke and now they're making all this money because they didn't stop. So I usually look for stories like that. Ooh. I look for stories like that to keep motivating myself. And yeah, my thing would be get to know your industry by the people that have made it in the industry and start networking in those circles. Because what I always tell people, like even with my girlfriend's company, I'm like, you don't know much about business. You haven't been through the ropes. So why don't you work with someone that has done it? Oh, damn.
You have one question, Ryan? You got 5 out of 9.
The muscles are starting to...
Did you ever find it hard to balance your personal life and your professional life?
I think they go hand in hand. So like I'm always working. I tell people like, they're like, oh, I work, or we're open 24/7. I'm like, I work 25/8. So I always say that and people are like, whoa, what is that? I said that yesterday in the meeting and they were like, okay. So I mean, it's if I'm on a trip, I'm working. If I'm driving around, I'm working. If I'm on a phone call, I'm working. Even on date night, like me and my girlfriend, like we're having a nice dinner and hey, what happened with that contract? Hey, this and that. It's like I never stop working. One day I would like to turn it off, but I think it's like it's in my nature that
it's part of your life. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, like especially like you mentioned your girlfriend, like she has her own like business and it kind of relates to yours. So like I think like that's the hardest part, finding, because unfortunately, like there's not enough women, like in business. So like I think that's a really good, like component to your life.
Oh,
we had 6 out of 9.
Yeah.
Stop that.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh damn. Has anyone ever gone to 9?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who did it? Was it
Paul
and Ivan? Ivan also did it too.
No.
Damn. Those some muscle contractions.
Well, I don't know if you want to share, like I said, we don't have that many episodes. We're still building up our, like audience. If you want to share anything about quantum, like if you're looking for, like sales reps, I don't know, like whatever you want to share with the community.
Yeah.
Feel free to use the space now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always love helping where I can. So if anyone out there has any questions or wants to sit over a coffee and discuss, I mean, time permitting, I'm always open to meet with other entrepreneurs and help mentor where I can. I don't know it all. I haven't figured it all out and I haven't made it, but I've gone through the ringer and gotten kicked in the nuts enough times to say, hey, maybe you should go this way instead of this way. And I'm always willing to help out with that.
Awesome. We really appreciate you, coming over for an hour.
Yeah.
You're about to take off.
No, it's cool.
Hours, so.
If you guys ever have a follow-up episode or once I get this big solar farm going, maybe you guys can come out and check it out, be on site. And,
or we'll do the SEMA.
Yeah, SEMA. We'll do the SEMA episode. Yeah, that would be cool.
I'm glad it's all excited.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.